Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Cringe Squadcast. I'm your host, Russell. Today, I'm joined by my friend, Mr. Dylan,
Hello.
along as well as Aidan
Hey, what's up?
and Chad.
Hello.
And yeah. So anyway, welcome to the fourth episode. And really quickly, I just want to talk about um what the performance was of the third episode. Um, and also talk about that. That was so far our longest episode yet, which almost went over an hour, which is, I mean, especially coming from the fact that we basically started like with 20-minute to 23-minute episodes, and all of a sudden the third episode comes up, and all of a sudden we just bump it all the way up to almost an hour long. That's pretty good. So,
Yeah.
um, I guess that did kind of cause a problem, which unfortunately, yeah. Well, anyway, in terms of performance-wise, it's so far our weakest in terms of the episode so far at like around 72 views. But granted, that's not half bad either.
And
But
you also didn't advertise this one.
yeah, I did forget to advertise it on my Instagram.
Doesn't really
Um,
matter though.
I mean, yeah, but I'm certainly gonna advertise this one, but also make sure to say, check out the previous episode, because we did talk about kind of a lot in that one.
Yeah.
As we will be talking about a lot in this one. Um, but anyways, really quickly before we actually start the episode, go and check out the video. It was a lot of fun to make. Like I said, going for almost an hour long, not bad. Um, but anyway, so as you guys can tell by the title and the thumbnail, today we're gonna be talking about movies and TV shows. And oh boy, I'm excited for this one. As you guys may
You
know from
betcha.
my personal YouTube channel, I am quite a fan of film and TV. Um, and these guys, not so much Chad, but especially Aiden and Dylan, they know that I have a great fascination with film, and I know a lot about different kinds of movies, and that kind of stuff. So I think instead of me starting off with this one, because basically this is gonna be kind of the same thing that we're doing with the video games episode, where we're gonna be talking about our favorite, like some of our favorite movies, some movies that we've seen and may have, impacted our lives in a certain way. And then we're gonna talk about some of the most latest films, and maybe a little, a few minutes on maybe some movies that will be coming out in the near future. So instead of me starting this one, why not? I'll let Dylan take this one. So Dylan, what
All
were
right.
some favorite movies that you've seen so far?
I'm gonna have to think about this one. Although I can already name a couple. The the two grown-ups movies are funny movies that I watched a while back. I remember Aiden actually watched them with me, like at my house one time, and it was actually really funny. And also, we are mentioning TV series. And one that me and Russell have been watching is Cobra Kai.
Yep, Cobra Kai, which we'll be talking about in a future episode, along with the whole Karate Kid franchise as a whole. But yeah, and by the way, kind of a spoiler for anyone was watching, who was watching Cobra Kai before. Um, it has been announced that there is going to be coming out with a third and fourth season. Well, the third season will be coming out on Netflix on January 8th.
Yes.
Um, and even though in the trailer it has been said that Cobra Kai will be that the fourth season is in quote unquote training, that technically kind of means that we are going to get a fourth season of Cobra Kai, which will hopefully, actually no, due to the track record of how many episodes are in per season, we're gonna get around 40 episodes. It'll
And
be
also,
4 seasons.
sorry to interrupt, but I've actually heard that they actually have enough story for Cobra Kai that will last for 6 seasons, and I just had many voice cracks right then.
Is that true? Because I actually never heard of that.
Yeah, I heard it. They have
Okay.
like 6 seasons worth of story.
All right. Well, apparently, but yeah. Anyway, so that is a that is a big development for us because me and Dylan both love the Cobra Kai series as a whole, and we're really excited for season 3 and 4 to be coming out.
Oh yeah.
Especially season 3 because that's obviously the next season that's going to be coming out on January 8th. But anyways, I'm sorry to kind of take that away from you, Dylan. But anyway.
Oh no, I'm pretty much finished. I mean, it's really hard to think of a lot of movies.
All right. So I guess Aidan, why don't you go next?
I'm not sure if Aiden's here.
Maybe
What?
Aidan.
Hmm?
Oh,
Oh.
apparently Aidan just went into a coma.
Yeah.
Basically, we're gonna be we're talking about now, like maybe some favorite movies and some favorite TV shows that we personally like to watch. So, what about you, Aidan?
Movies per se. I always liked Indiana Jones. Yeah, I don't know. Movies are kind of cool. I like, I don't know. I like stuff with like lore or like, I don't know. Or Inception's really good too. Um, for TV shows, I don't know. I just like Friends, The Office, Parks and Rec, stuff like that. And yeah, that's kind of about it.
No, yeah, I love The Office.
Yeah.
And also Star Wars.
Yeah, Star
Yep,
Wars is kind of good.
Star Wars is a big one, which I will be mentioning later on in this episode. And we're gonna have kind of debate over something like that. Which we'll mention Star Wars, but that is for later in the episode. So Chad, why don't you go next?
Thank you. Yeah. So is it favorite movies and TV shows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so far I think my favorite let's say I really love Japanese like movies as in like Godzilla, you know, cuz it's just a giant like
Oh
monster
god.
just like
Yeah, dude, I love
destroying
those.
everything.
Like
I
Godzilla and
already I
Gamera
watched
especially.
Oh yeah. Gamma yeah, definitely, bro. Like I watched the 2020 Godzilla movie. This was a long time ago. But like yeah, I think that was great. They like, you know, remade every character like every monster from like my childhood. Even though like I like, you know, wasn't born around the period where like Godzilla was popular, but
Yeah,
like I grew up
like the
with it.
50s and 60s.
Yeah, my cousins watched my cousins like, but they watched like the first Godzilla movie. So you know that's like that was amazing. You know, just to hear. I'm like a
Yeah.
really big fan of Godzilla. It's just like I don't know. It's just like amazing. Like it's just like all that action and like yeah, that's what I like. But my favorite TV show. Oh, I think my favorite TV show. It's Kitchen Nightmares. The only reason why I picked this show is because it's just you know it has Gordon Ramsay. I mean
I
Gordon
love
Ramsay.
Kitchen
He's
Nightmares.
like yeah,
Gordon
he just
Ramsay
gets
is the
angry.
goddamn man in terms of kitchen film.
Exactly right. Exactly. He's just
Any
like
kind of kitchen show that doesn't have Gordon Ramsay is like, just get away from my face. Just go away.
yeah, exactly, bro. Like it's just like cause he gets like angry and he's like you know talk. I just like when like these like you know restaurant owners like they think they have like you know they think they mastered everything like every like I guess every taste like
Oh.
like how good food is, but you know Gordon Ramsay just slams that down. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
just like that's just like you know the good stuff for me. So that's all. That's just all for me. You know.
Yeah, and I guess I'm the final one. For me personally, some of my favorite movies are some of the more well acclaimed films that if you think of films, you're gonna be popping up. These are gonna be definitely popping up in your mind, like Jaws. You know, one of my favorite movies of all time. And my favorite movie is actually kind of an obscure one that no one says is their favorite movie of all time. It's actually called The Living Daylights. It's a James Bond film, and I don't don't know why, but for some reason, that film encapsulate every literally I can't say it, literally encases everything that I love in terms of film into one nice little package. Um, and also like Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, and maybe some of my favorite TV shows are some of the Star Trek shows like TOS and TNG and DS9. But in terms of actual just general TV shows that most likely everyone has watched, I'm gonna have to personally go with a TV show, Wipeout. Because honestly, who doesn't like people trying to accomplish something and basically just getting smacked in the face over and over again by
I remember
like
watching that.
Yeah, I watch that all the time.
Wipeout
Watched
was
it during
like
school.
wait, no, you watch it during school?
I finished all my stuff first, but then after I watched Wipeout.
Did you just sneak your phone under the desk? I was like, oh, I need to watch this
No,
so I can get smacked in the
even
face.
the teacher's watching with me.
Oh, it was like, oh, you guys watched it together. I was like, oh, wait a minute. So wait, you just snuck your phone in and just started watching Wipeout? And honestly, I think the show got canceled way too early. Granted, it did last over 10 seasons, but it was canceled way too early. But yeah. So that really ends it for me. So yeah, so the next thing we should be talking about is I guess kind of just we should talk about movies that we watched and that have kind of made an impression on us in a good or bad way. Uh, and certainly for me, I know some bad movies that have changed my life for the worse. But I say let's go in the exact same order. So don't want to just start us off.
Big one for me is Star Wars, like I said earlier. Voice crack, by the way. Oh my god, another one. Okay, just ignore that. But yeah, Star Wars, I've just grown up with it. It's a big part.
All right. Aidan, why not you go next?
No, movie or TV show changed my life forever or anything, but yeah, like what Dylan said, I remember Star Wars being one of the first movies I watched, and I remember this one question. I was like, "Why do the good guys have green blasters when the bad guys?" Or wait, no, it was the other way around. But anyway, um, yeah, that's kind of about it. I don't remember any movie that I went crazy over. They were all just kind of like, "Oh, cool."
All right, and next, why not Chad? You go next.
Okay. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm doing homework right now. But what are we? What's the topic again?
We're talking about movies that may have changed our lives for better or for worse.
Okay. Movies that changed our lives. I think. This movie about okay, it's like a inspirational movie, but I think it changed a lot of me. So it's called The Blind Side. Well, I don't want to spoil it too much, but here's a brief description. It's just a guy. He's a high schooler and he plays football, but he's homeless. So these people take him and care for him, and then when they care for him, uh like he has he's all better, and he plays football and he gets all these scholarships because he's really good, and the whole I guess story behind it was that for me it changed me because I took life so much for granted. I just didn't really appreciate all the stuff around me before because I was just pretty spoiled at the time. But after I watched this film, I kind of reconsidered some stuff about my life. That's all.
Well,
All right then. And I guess I'm I'm like the final one. For me, um, really a movie that, well, the movie that got me into wanting to watch films for basically the almost now for the rest of my life is a little film called The Hunt for Red October, starring Sean Connery and Alec Baldwin. That film, I have no idea why, just, it's so freaking good to the point where by the end, you want to, I rarely get the sensation, but I have always had that. I don't know for you about you guys, but have you, like, people watching, have you ever had this feeling where whenever you guys watch a movie that's so good that, like, immediately when the credits start rolling, you just want to pause the movie, rewind it all the way back to the beginning, and watch it immediately after? Because that was the same thing for me when I watched The Hunt for Red October, and it has stuck with me for the rest of my life. It's obviously until still now, and so I will thank The Hunt for Red October for getting me into watching movies. But I will admit there are some bad films. Obviously, with my kind of quote unquote career as reviewing movies for my channel, there are some bad movies out there. One I can really, two I can really remember off the top of my head are Jaws 3D and Jaws: The Revenge. Oh boy, those movies are bad. For more in-depth kind of points about why I think those movies are bad, you can go and check out the reviews on my channel, or really any other reviews of Jaws 3D or Jaws: The Revenge on YouTube. But suffice it to say, they are some of, especially Jaws: The Revenge. That is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, and I don't really recommend any of you guys watching it. But if you want to go and watch it, go right ahead. But it's an absolute. It just basically poops on the legacy of the first film. But I guess we could talk more. I could talk more about that if we do a future Jaws episode on the podcast. Um, but since we have mentioned to get on to a new point for this episode, there has been a topic that me and my friends kind of talk about every once in a while. Whenever we're bored whenever we're just like, oh, what do we talk about? This thing always basically sometimes pops in our head, and we always start talking about it. And we have mentioned both of them in this episode. And what I want you guys to do is after you're done watching this episode, go to my Instagram and start messaging me. Which one do you think is better? And we're gonna have a little discussion here on this episode with us four, discussing which one is better. Now, here's the question: which one was better, Star Wars or Star Trek? You guys may start talking about this. Whoever wants to.
Here's one thing that I will say.
Okay.
I haven't really seen Star Trek.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Me
Sorry about
neither.
that. Okay.
Although I would like to.
I have never seen a Star Wars or Star Trek, so I can't really give my opinion on this. I'm sorry.
Russell, I think you're asking the wrong people.
Well, yeah, true. Oh. Okay. But yeah, I have seen films from both sides of the conversation, and for me personally, I love both of them. But for me personally, I have to lean slightly more towards Star Trek than Star Wars. Especially with the fact that, for me personally, I kind of see Star Wars as kind of a ripoff to Star Trek in certain aspects. Um, Especially with the fact that the original Star Trek TV series came out in 1966, and the first Star Wars film, A New Hope, came out 11 years after the first episode of Star Trek aired. But I will give this point to Star Wars. Star Wars saved Star Trek. I will say that right now. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'll briefly sum it up. Basically, when Star Wars came out, it was a big financial success, and then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of sci-fi films started coming out with, Close Encounters and stuff like that. And Paramount was like, oh crap, we need to kind of jump on the bandwagon of sci-fi films that make a lot of money. What sci-fi franchise do we have? And they looked through their back catalog and they realized that they bought the rights to Star Trek, and they decided to make a Star Trek film. So I will admit, Star Wars saved Star Trek. But I think the films, personally, are for Star Trek a little bit better than Star Wars. Even though I will admit that the Star Wars films are way more action-packed than the Star Trek films, I think the Star Trek films have a lot more character, motivations, and a lot more plot than the Star Wars films. Because really, I just saw those ones as sci-fi action flicks with space battles that have some interesting characters. But obviously over the years, I've noticed more and more um, that Star Wars, it's not just space battles. It's again about characters and the plot and how it spans over a galaxy. Um, but for me personally, I think Star Trek is just a little bit better than Star Wars, even though Star Wars is fantastic in all of its right. But really quickly, why don't you guys say? I know Chad already said that he never really saw a Star Wars or Star Trek film, so he can't really decide. So he's kind of like the mediator a bit.
Yeah.
But why not Dylan and Aidan? Why don't you guys kind of talk about this point a bit?
I mean, I can't really decide either because I haven't even seen Star Trek.
I mean, yeah.
I've seen like a tiny bit. Oh, I've seen a tiny bit of Star Trek. I forgot which one it was though. I mean, it's one of the newer ones for sure. But yeah, I only watched like the first 5 or so minutes of it, and then I didn't watch it anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I never really fully watched it, so.
Okay, good, because
Yeah.
I know that if you guys are a fan of our channel, which is most likely the case, you may have noticed a certain video that Dylan posts on his channel. Talking as we mentioned in, I believe, our first episode, I think. Um, we we obviously have all different channels, and Dylan mentioned that he had a series called Twin Trouble. And the second episode of that,
Oh,
he
man.
he kind of made a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek reference to when I first mentioned that I was a fan of Star Trek. Dylan, you want to go more into that a bit?
Okay, so this is the second episode of a really cringy series. So basically, I was really bored that day, so I was like, hey, might as well make a second episode because I have nothing else better to do. So I needed to think of something, so I said, oh, Russell's talking about Star Trek. I'll put that in the video. And then basically, the first guy says, I hate Star Trek, which I mean, I actually don't. But it's just for the story.
Like you said, it's you have never seen it, probably like a few seconds of anything.
It's just for the story.
Yeah.
Then the other guy says, finish him, and then the other guy runs away. It's really cringy, but yeah, it's a little nod to Russell.
I mean, it's only 6 seconds long. You could have elaborated a little bit more on it, but again, you're like, how old were you when you made that episode? Like,
I just turned 10.
yeah. Jesus. But obviously now we could probably make a way more interesting story about that sort of thing. Maybe like a character has seen it, or maybe some traumatizing thing. But anyway, that's probably a story that we could think about off an episode. But yeah. But yeah. So now we should probably just talk about movies that either are coming out for this year or last year, and some that we are kind of interested in for the next few years, along with TV shows. So, Dylan, why don't you start us off? Which kind of films are you interested in? And again, if we wanted to start talking about it, we will break out into discussions. So anyway,
Basically, just any action-packed movie, I guess. I mean, heard that a lot of Avengers movies are going to come out in the following year or two.
Even
And
though they technically did kind of quote unquote end the Avengers saga a bit.
but they're still releasing Marvel movies.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've
Although,
heard, there's like Black Widow coming out.
yeah, and I was really looking forward to Black Panther 2 since the first one was so good. But I'm not sure how they're going to do it now since the actor who played Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, died.
Yeah. R.I.P. I forgot what the actor's name was, but R.I.P. to whoever you
Chadwick
are.
Boseman.
Yeah. I think every Marvel fan will miss you.
Yeah.
Aidan, you want to go next?
Yeah.
Chad just left.
I don't know. I saw the Ghostbusters trailer and I thought that was gonna be kind of cool.
Oh God,
Yeah.
which one? Afterlife?
I have no idea. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know.
If you're talking about Afterlife, then I was like, okay, at least it's not the 2016 piece of crap.
Oh, what? No.
But we will be talking about more Ghostbusters in the Halloween episode, which will be coming out in a few weeks,
I think that'll be episode 7.
like 6 or 7.
It's episode 7. Trust me.
Okay.
Just trust me.
Like, and okay, what else is coming soon or something? Yeah, like Marvel movies I'm pretty hyped about. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Well, for me, I'm not really interested in newer films. I'm more, like I said, kind of before, I'm more or less like an older films guy. Like I think from the '90s and down, that's like really like what I'm more interested in. Anything from like the 2000s and on, I'm really not interested in unless. Oh, apparently I just muted myself. Unless it's um a continuation of a franchise that I really enjoy, or B, something new that hasn't really been done before, and I think that it could really work. Um, so over like the last year or two, I've seen or I want to see films like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which had a big long production history of hell, obviously going from the original design uh to a more fitting looking Sonic design. But besides those, I was really gonna check out the movie in any shape or form. I was willing to look over the original design for Sonic if it meant that I was gonna at least have a somewhat decent film to watch. But I think that now that I have like more convincing looking Sonic, kind of makes it better for me because now I can see like okay, now I can kind of gravitate more towards the story. But anyway, I personally haven't seen it. I really want to see it, but that's for a future review on my channel. Future movies I actually want to see. One I can think of off the top of my head is No Time to Die. The latest James Bond film, and I believe it's gonna be the last one with Daniel Craig. That has been delayed so much though. Like, why can't they just get to the point of releasing the gosh darn film? Like, Jesus. I get the whole COVID-19 thing, but seriously, just release a film for once. It's not that hard.
It is now.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, they're going to put the safety of the actors over the,
Oh yeah.
you know.
I mean, we kind of go off a little bit off topic. I've heard that the most recent Batman, I believe, movie or TV show has like shut down production because of COVID-19, which is like you haven't noticed that before. Like really, it's really stupid sometimes. But anyway, like I said, No Time to Die. I think also like what Aidan was saying earlier about the new Ghostbusters film. I'm kind of interested in that. Granted, I think after the whole Howard Ramis passing away, I don't think he should make any other films based off of Ghostbusters. But granted, the studio did go off and make the 2016 Ghostbusters film, which was an absolute train wreck. which I think we will be talking about later on in this episode. Not more or less Ghostbusters, but reboots. But we'll get to that later. Really, the only other things I can think of right now are the newest Godzilla movie that's coming out, I believe, next year. Called Godzilla versus Kong. It's basically going to be a new version of King Kong versus Godzilla, which I'm actually kind of excited for. Even though I personally haven't seen Godzilla 2014 or Godzilla King of the Monsters. I'm really excited to see that one. But now we are going to be talking about probably the most dreadful thing for anyone who wants to be talking about movies. Yes, we are going to be talking about reboots. Granted, most of the time, or not most of the time, sometimes you can get a remake that's either as good as the original, or in really, really rare cases, better than the original. But 95% of the time, when someone says, hey, they're going to make a reboot of this film, it's going to be a train wreck. Like, absolute garbage fire. I think Dylan was about to say something really quick.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Well, I just saw your mic turn on, so I was like, oh, he might be trying to talk, but,
Nah. Also, just a heads up, my phone is at 11%.
okay. Yeah, by the way, Dylan is talking to us on his Discord on his phone, so.
Yeah.
And not on his computer, which, by the way, I don't know why you're not on your computer, but I don't know why.
Same.
But do you guys have any remakes that kind of appear off the top of your head that we could talk about for maybe like a few minutes?
One I can think of is Spider-Man.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
2 reboots in the same decade.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
At least
I'll
they
just say
weren't
this.
terrible, though.
Yeah, the reboots weren't bad.
Yeah, like, I think the worst one they gotten was, in terms of actual reboots, were okay. The sequels, meh. You could kind of complain about those ones, but the initial first films, I don't think are bad. I mean, even the Amazing Spider-Man, which is, in my opinion, the least out of all the reboots, isn't really bad. It's just okay. So the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is when they start getting trash. But again, like I said about Ghostbusters, about Ghostbusters, the 2016 film, that's a topic for a future episode. But yeah. Anything else doing that kind of pops into your head?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I'm sure there are tons.
Okay, and what about you? Do you have any that pop in your mind?
Reboots, like movies and TV.
I mean, this is more or less leaning towards more of the film conversation, but I guess if you can't think of one for TV, then go right ahead.
Well, I'm not sure if you would call this a reboot, but I kind of call it a reboot because they changed actors and everything and characters and all that, but it's the same story. Jake from State Farm, like
Okay,
he's
wait,
different now.
what?
That is so true, actually.
I mean,
Like
yeah,
he's
that's
different
Not as
now.
good. It's not as good as the original.
I mean, yeah, but that's a gosh damn like commercial series, not a TV show.
I don't think you're understanding, Russell. This is important to the film
This
franchise.
is Jake from State Farm, okay? Red shirt and like.
Who are you calling at 3 a.m.?
Okay, this is taking a turn that I don't really like. But I was thinking more or less like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory versus Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
God, you're right.
Yeah, I
Like
forgot
that
about that.
was absolute garbage.
I haven't even seen the original. I've only seen the one with Johnny Depp. So yeah.
Granted, it's not as bad as some other remakes that I've seen, but it's not that good either. Like I mean, granted, it's really based off of opinion per se. So really, some people might watch the Charlie one and then go back and watch the Willy Wonka one and then say that one's not as good as the Charlie one. But I'm sorry, the Charlie one is absolutely terrible. Like, they just, I mean, I get that they leaned more towards, like, they actually took a lot more, it's more or less more based off of the book than the Willy Wonka version. I mean, yeah, granted, both will take deviations with the source material, but Jesus. Like, making Charlie into, like, a godsend, like God just sent him down, and all of a sudden he's, like, a giver to, like, everything. It's just like, why? And I get that that's how he is in the book, but granted, it's a book compared to a movie. You don't need to make him a God-sent child. And I think they did a great job with the Willy Wonka version, because in that film, they made him into a normal kid. Where he's like, he could be happy, he could be sad,
Yeah.
he could even be jealous. And, like, you know, I just think that, like, that concept alone is one of the main reasons why you should never watch the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But like Aidan said, the other one that really, the other main point that the reason why you shouldn't really watch it is Willy Wonka. I love Johnny Depp. I love him in Ed Wood and, like, Edward Scissorhands and, like, the Pirates of the Caribbean films. Those are great performances. But every actor has that one performance that is god awful, and I'm sorry, Johnny, but this is yours, and it's absolutely. I get the idea of a man with a child's mind. I could see that, but don't act like you have your kid has like PTSD, because that's what it kind of seems like. And over the fact that when the father of Willy Wonka is played by Count Dracula and Count Dooku himself, Christopher Lee, you are really just not doing it well. And I love Tim Burton as a director. I loved his the first two Batman movies. I love Edward Scissorhands. I love Pee-wee's Big Adventure. You know, I love all of the stuff that he did. I mean, granted, he didn't really was director on it, but Nightmare Before Christmas. He was like executive producer on that, but that's still technically his movie. Like everyone, whenever anyone thinks Nightmare Before Christmas, they think, oh, isn't that directed by Tim Burton? And it's like, no, it's actually directed by someone else. But yeah, I guess Tim Burton was a part of that. But like, I love all of his films, but this film, I just think you can't compare it to the original. Granted, it's not as bad as some other remakes where it's basically just the exact same rehash as the first film, or as the original. So I will give it credit that it did kind of do something else with the material, but it doesn't mean that it's a good movie in general. Sorry, I basically just went on a whole tangent about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But it's just that some remakes really piss me off about how bad they are.
Just money grabs.
Yeah, it's literally the only reason why the studios make reboots is to make money. But
cough, Disney.
I mean, yeah, I will give Disney this though. Disney did make some good actual remakes, especially some of their live action ones that were remakes of animated films. I thought that The Jungle Book was great. I thought Pete's Dragon was okay. Certainly better than the original, where it was just the original was just mediocre. But I just think Lion King sucked. Mulan, it looks terrible.
Agree.
And like, it's just, I just think it's I think the whole concept of reboots is bad.
Yeah. Also, sorry to. We might have to end the episode pretty soon. My phone's at 5, and I still gotta say a couple things.
Okay.
Do you have any like last and like remarks?
I was gonna quickly mention animated films. Um, like those are like really good to expand someone's imagination. And some of them are my favorites. Are really some really good Disney movies. Maybe in the future we could do a part 2 about this sort of thing, and we could expand more on some ideas. But
Sure. Yeah.
I guess really quickly to kind of end the episode before Dylan's phone dies. I guess really quickly to quickly mention it as we usually do in every episode. Um, if you want to, ask if you want to be a part of an episode, or if you want to suggest an idea for a future episode, again, message me on my Instagram, which will be again down in the description below. Um, and don't spam. Um, just saying that right now, just to kind of get it done and over with. And to really quickly have a sneak peek for our next episode, which, Dylan, you want to take this one since I basically talked like 90% of the episode?
Yeah. So our next episode will be School Stories on October 16th, I believe. Yeah. And actually, Franco will make his first appearance in that episode, so stay tuned.
Yep,
Also,
our
one last
boy
thing.
Franco will be making his first appearance in the podcast.
Yes. One last thing is it's actually Franco's older brother's birthday today. Turned 21.
Yeah,
Franco
apparently
wanted me to mention him.
Apparently, one of our friends, Vignesh, apparently mentioned that while in our group chat while we were like in the middle of doing this episode, and we are just like, okay.
Yeah,
So
happy birthday to Carlos.
yeah. So anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Cringe Squadcast. Stay tuned for next week, where we're going to be talking about school stories and the first appearance of our good friend Franco. And I bet that will be probably over an hour long, but I guess we'll find out. But anyway, guys, hope you guys have a great time, and have a great night, everyone. See ya!
See ya.
See ya.